Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining. Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows.
Oh, I muted. Even better.
You muted me. I was like, wait, I can't hear anything.
Oh my God. What a great start to this episode. Jeez. We did a double intro just because we love it so much. And then I muted myself. So welcome Astrid, Loch to Fertility Village Live.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm so sorry about the kerfuffle.
No worries.
We got this. So welcome for those of you who are just joining and you haven't been here on an episode of Fertility Village Live before. We come into the space through Oasis FSN every second Wednesday night with expert guests and rotating hosts, and it's just a really fun place to connect and find community and get some education about the fertility journey that you are probably on today if you're tuning in. So huge welcome to Astrid. Thank you for joining us, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear about your story. We want to hear about your journey. We want to hear about how, all of this came to be. These stories are so impactful to the community. I know when I was going through my journey, the one thing I wanted was a story to connect with, somebody else that went through it, so that I knew like I wasn't alone on this journey. And it's so important, So thank you for sharing and being so open about your journey. And I'm excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you tonight. I got out of the bedtime routine by going on this live, so I'm excited.
Yes, amazing. Well, for anybody that doesn't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you got here.
Oh gosh. Okay. I guess what most people would know me from is I met my husband on Bachelor in Paradise.
Yes,
and
I was there for it. Just so you know, we've never talked about this, but I was a huge fan. I watched the Paradise. I'm a big Bachelor franchise fan, and it was an epic love story. Everybody was rooting for you guys, I think.
Oh, and I feel like the Canadians have just accepted me into their country because nobody ever comes over here. I feel like whatever Canadians go on The Bachelor, they move out to LA or whatever, and I came this way. So everyone's been so accepting. But yeah, since then we've made home. And we were in Toronto for a while, and now we're in Burlington, Ontario, with our two kids. Both are IVF babies. So we'll get into all of that later.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. That's one place to start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations on the success through the franchise, the journey, as they call it, and then obviously on the success of IVF and getting those babies. It's such a journey. It's so incredibly difficult, as you know, and as anybody who's tuning in here or listening later on, it's such a hard journey. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened? Share as much or as little as your story as you want, but I think people want to know, at what point did you decide we need help, and what was the journey like for you?
Yeah, it's so funny because I get asked that question a lot. Is when did you realize you needed to kind of seek treatment, or when did you feel like something's wrong? And obviously it's different for everyone, but I remember 6 months into us trying, being okay, I kind of have a weird gut feeling about this. And I think it was also after not getting pregnant for 6 months initially, then you kind of start thinking about all of the times you've not gotten pregnant before. And then I thought of my friends, and I thought of friends who got pregnant in high school or college or whatnot. And I thought, I never really had a scare. I never really had that, oh, I might be pregnant. So that it was kind of always in the back of my head once we were a few months into it. Um, but I would say once we were at like month 10, 11, we kind of started to like worry because we knew once you hit that 1 year mark, you should, you can go see a fertility doctor.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think it really fully became like real for me, I think, until we had our first failed IUI. And then I thought, okay, this is not just Kevin and I not being able to figure out timing because, you
Yeah.
know, the further you're into it, the more you're like, okay, maybe I'm just doing it on the wrong day or doing
Yeah.
it the wrong, like
The
you
wrong
think of
way. We do
positions
all the
and
things.
what to
Yeah.
do and legs in the air. And
Mhm.
so then I thought, okay, so now we did a month of following my cycle. A doctor intervened, told me exactly what day to come in. We have clean sperm, whatever that means, like washed sperm or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
it still isn't happening. So I think that's when it really kind of set in for me that like I might have a longer road ahead than I ever really let myself believe.
Yeah. Wow. It's such a shocking reality when you do get that first failed any part of the journey, any part of the treatment. It's so devastating because you're like, you have so much hope going into the first one, I find. You think this
For
is it.
sure.
We're finally here. We've done the clinic. We're in. We waited on the wait list. We're, at this point, and then it's like, oh, it doesn't work.
Well, you just think like, surely this was just because we can't figure it out. And as soon as a
Right.
doctor gets involved within a month or two, like I'll
Yeah.
just be pregnant. And so, yeah, I think that's when it really kind of set in for both of us to where we realized, okay, like what are going to be our options? And
Yeah.
maybe IUIs aren't going to be the way to go. And, you just
Yeah.
kind of start spiraling then once it doesn't work out with the help.
Yeah. So, okay. So you did how many IUIs
So
before?
we did 3 IUIs and then I ended up having an ectopic pregnancy. And then I
Okay.
think that was kind of really like another big shifting point for us. Not just because our doctor after that recommended IVF, but that was also, I think, when we got our hopes up the most
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. You saw that two
Because
lines.
right, you see the 2 lines and you get the numbers. And my numbers were doing weird things to where they were
Mhm.
doubling in the beginning and then they just
Mhm.
kind of started dipping. And so once I then had my hopes up for the first time, I think that was probably one of the hardest parts of the journey
Yeah.
before I would say that that was harder than going through the IVF later on because I just got my hopes up so much.
Yeah. And at this point in your journey, you didn't have a diagnosis at all? Like you've done the baseline testing. So was there did we
So
know it
we
was
were
coming?
we were unexplained infertility for us. So
Yeah.
when they did all of the testing, there was nothing that was, technically wrong. I think they like had said, I had average eggs for somebody my age or whatever it was. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't the most fertile, but they said, oh, there's nothing like obviously here where we need to have a procedure or anything or any kind of interventions. So it was unexplained. And I think that made it really hard too, because it wasn't just like something to fix or a procedure to do or a cause. It was
Yeah.
just my body deciding, or what felt like my body just deciding it didn't want to get pregnant.
It's the most frustrating diagnosis. Like anybody who's been there and they're like, oh, it's unexplained. It's like all we want is to be told what's wrong here. And then you just get told, like, oh, nothing's wrong. Well, then what the
Yeah.
F? Like, it should be
Like you
working.
should get pregnant. You're just
Yeah.
not. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
So
perfect.
frustrating, but it's such a common diagnosis and
Hmm.
or non-di, I would call it a not diagnosis of infertility. And like, I don't know, I'm kind of the philosophy like that unexplained infertility doesn't exist. Like there is always an explanation. It's just actually they don't want to go through the whole process of like figuring out what it is because it could be one of a million things and it's
Yeah.
too hard to get to that. Like they do trial and error in other ways by IUI, IVF, protocols, all the
Right.
different poking and prodding gets them to hopefully the result that they want without ever actually finding out the problem in most cases. So that
That's such a good point.
it's so frustrating. Yeah. Yeah. So you went, so you had a clinic, you did your IUIs, and then you moved on to IVF. So take us through that process.
Yeah, so after that, so once I had the ectopic pregnancy, thankfully because I was being monitored, we caught it really early, and it was actually during one of my ultrasounds, which
Good.
bless the ultrasound technicians, they're
Uh-huh.
just amazing at the fertility clinics. She ended up being able to find it, and so I had to do the methotrexate. So then that set us back 3 to 4 months, I think, because for anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's basically like a cancer drug that's gonna kill living cells, the ectopic pregnancy being one of those. So then after that, you can't try because all of those chemicals kind of remain in your body. And so you don't want to
Mhm.
risk getting pregnant during that time.
Right.
So that was obviously a really frustrating time again, because now we finally got into the fertility treatments. We tried multiple IUIs. So right when we were like getting our hopes up, now we're told, okay, we have to wait again. We have to let all of this get out of your system.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think maybe taking that pressure off a little bit was actually like the best preparation for me, like mentally and for my body, because the egg retrieval I ended up doing, I got both of my boys from that one egg retrieval. So,
Wow. That's
everything
amazing.
happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. So you ended up doing one round of IVF.
Yeah, so we did. So I did one round at IVF. We did one retrieval. We had 13 eggs that we took out. Out of those 13 eggs, we had 9 that ended up being fertilized. And then out
Mhm.
of those 9, 3 made it to the final, or 6 made it to the final stage. 5 made it to the final stage. Sorry, there's like so many numbers. They all
Sorry,
get like discombobulated. 5 made it to the final stage. We got those 5 genetically tested. And then 3 were medically grade to then proceed to transfer. So Augie was our first attempt, and I was lucky and got pregnant with him in November of 2021.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. August was one of our boy names too. Isn't that so
Oh,
funny?
was
I
it?
loved it. Yes. I wanted to call my son Gus for short. I was like, it's such a
Oh,
cute, it's
that's
such a
what Mandy
cute,
Moore does. She has an
so,
August,
oh,
and
that's
she calls her son Gus. Yeah.
so cute. I just loved that. But yeah, so great name. um, so okay, so that was the first one. So and what was the process like for you in the sense of like, you finally got that positive result? Like that is just such a impactful moment. I know it was for me and my partner. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I mean, I would rank that on like top 5 best moments of my life. Like
Yeah.
it is because I just never had seen that, right? And I feel like I took so many pregnancy tests, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I woke up in the middle of the night and actually took one because I couldn't wait to get to doing the blood work. I think it's
Yeah.
like day 10 or whatnot. You go in for your blood work, and I was too anxious to where I couldn't even get to that. So I think I made it to day 8 or whatnot. And I woke
Yeah.
up at like 4 a.m. Kevin was still sleeping. And I just thought, okay, just take the pregnancy test, and if it's negative, you don't have to even tell Kevin. He's sleeping. He won't even know you peed on it. And I sat in the bathroom, I waited, and it was positive, and I screamed so loud. I think Kevin thought somebody was breaking into the
Oh
house
my
or
God.
something was seriously wrong. And then I think I had my appointment 2 days later, and I, walked in there, and just was cheesing from ear to ear. I'm like, listen, I
Yeah.
just need you to confirm what I think I already
Yes.
know. I don't want to fully get my hopes up. I know there's like a chance
So
it's not
hard.
real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have the patience to wait till my blood work at all.
I don't think most of us in the journey do. Like
No.
I would say there's like two types of people in the fertility journey. There's like the serial testers who
Yeah,
like start testing or test or early. And then I was the opposite where I couldn't test because I was like, it's like no news is good news. I was just like I could not get like I didn't want to know. I was like, if I don't know, then I can't be hurt by the not knowing.
for
That's why
sure.
I was like afraid of every test, every phone call from the clinic. I would not answer it. I would let it go to voicemail, and then I would wait until we were like, I was ready to like get the news one way or the other. so ridiculous, but it's so hard. And like you get, yeah, like you had your hopes up, and then it's just like the roller coaster of like devastation and then hope and then devastation and hope. Like it's so difficult. So there's
Yeah, and
no
I
right
think
way.
after
There's
the
no right
ectopic
way.
pregnancy too, then I also was in my head
Mhm.
thinking like, okay, is this positive test like actually a positive test, or is it another ectopic, or is it a chemical? Like, you don't realize how many types of pregnancies there are
Oh my
until
God.
you're like in the fertility world, and then you
Mhm.
realize it's not just you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. There's so many
No.
types.
Well, then even like, I mean, you hear it in our community for those who have been pregnant and had a loss. They're like, I'm like first trimester, I'm kind of pregnant. Like you have that like pregnant-ish. Like, I mean, she coined the phrase, right? With
Yeah.
pregnant-ish in the US, but like it feels like that. It feels like I am pregnant. I'm here. I don't know what just happened, but can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can
Okay,
hear you.
okay. All good. I don't know what just happened. My computer just like did a thing and now I'm on another camera. Amazing. Yes, anyways, Andrea from Pregnantish kind of coined that phrase. And I think it's so true. And it feels true, We're kind of pregnant at that point um before you really accept, right? The
Well, and
pregnancy.
but I was thinking about this because obviously I knew we were going to chat today, and I was kind of thinking of like now that I've was trying to get pregnant without fertility treatments, trying to get pregnant with treatment, going through IVF, and having had kids and having done postpartum. I would say the two most intense stages throughout all of it were postpartum and being going through IVF. Those were the two most intense stages emotionally on my body. Like being
Mhm.
pregnant was actually the fun part, right? And then the postpartum
Mhm.
dip is the same type of dip that you actually experience while you're going through fertility treatments. So even that then after, I think that's why I had some postpartum depression after my second. I think it was just too many hormones for me to like fully even keep up with over this long period of a time, because it
Yeah.
was from fertility treatments to being pregnant to postpartum to fertility treatments to being pregnant to postpartum. And then my body just kind of like really crashed after the second
Yeah.
pregnancy.
100%.
Be- because going through those treatments, like it's quite intense, that it messes with your body, and it's a
Oh,
lot.
it not only messes with like your like the synthetic hormones that you're then like putting in your body and that are you're now having to cope with. It's also like emotionally intense, which has a physical impact on our bodies. It's
Hmm.
psychologically super intense, which has an impact on our physical bodies. And so it's intense on so many levels that like, yeah, when you get to the end of it, it's like half relief and then the grief that we never had the chance of finalizing when you're in
Hmm.
the cycle constantly over and over and over. And so I experienced a similar thing at the end of mine, like, 3 months postpartum, where I was like, oh my God, I'm grieving the end of the journey that has been a part of my life for me for 10 years. You're like, oh, this is over. It's just
Hmm.
a weird thing because you feel like,
Because it's a lifestyle, like between the
yeah,
appointments and the injections, like it's kind of like how a bodybuilder prepares for a competition. It's like
yeah,
from the
totally.
moment you wake up until you go to sleep, like you're kind of focusing on this thing because you're worried about what time am I doing what injection, what time is my appointment, I have to do blood,
Mhm.
I have to take my prenatals that I've been taking for months and months and months without being pregnant. So it's a lifestyle
Yeah.
once you're
And it's
going
like,
through fertility treatments.
yes, it is 100%. And it's all consuming, like mentally, emotionally, financially. Like it's just like all of the things it's impacting. So, like, talk a little bit more about your like emotionally how it impacted or psychologically. Did you find like you talked about postpartum and then while you were on it, like what was your impact? What was your experience?
Um, so for us, we didn't really share that we were going through fertility treatments while we were going through it. I think it's common because it's
Mhm.
just is an awkward thing, I think, to bring up. And I'm also the kind of person who doesn't want to overly talk about everything. So I didn't want to share it with people thinking everyone would bring it up all the time. And then I would have to think about it even more. In hindsight now, I wish I would have shared it with a community. But
Same.
so for me, I think that was the hardest part is going through it by yourself. And then your husband is the only other person who kind of knows what's going on. But I think the things you worry about are different, you know? I think like the anxieties like some are obviously the same because you have this common goal of getting pregnant, but I think the things you get anxious about are totally different and they're not going through the treatments the same way. So I think it's just hard to have that be the one person that you're leaning for to support when they're having a totally different experience than you. So I wish
Yeah.
I would have, leaned on more people or realized that there were places out there like Fertility Friends Foundation or ACES,
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
give support.
totally. I had my like little support group, which like honestly was my lifeline. But and my closest family knew, but I was the same as you. Like I was not public about it. I mean, I later down the road I got a little more open, but like it wasn't until after same like that I really opened up and was like, okay, this is, something that I'm passionate about because it was so hard and other people need support and I like my support group was so supportive. So yeah, it's so difficult. So how did you so I mean obviously you and your partner are super strong and there's like a lot of strength in that relationship. How else did you find support and have like that, what did you surround
Well,
yourself with?
eventually I did crack and I secretly told my best friend and I just was like, you can tell Kevin that I told you. You have to just pretend you have no idea because I realized like you can't go through it by yourself, right? Like you have to have that girl talk. Um and I think when I had those like months with the methotrexate too where like I couldn't try anymore, it got my brain out of it and I started going to yoga more. I started like going out to a restaurant with a girlfriend more or having a glass of wine. And it made me realize that actually those little things is actually what I needed to feel like myself. And
Yeah.
I feel like I stopped doing so many of those things as I was trying to get pregnant. It's like you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't drink wine anymore, or maybe I should stop doing Botox, or maybe it's this, or maybe it's that,
Yeah.
or I
Yeah.
need to sleep. But like you just, are looking for an answer
Yeah.
and you kind of take a little bit of the joy away from like that everyday, you that you are. So I think when I couldn't try with the methotrexate for a while and I got to do some of those things again and not think about it, when we then moved into the IVF part of everything, I, try to really remind myself, you're doing this, but you also like can't let this fully consume you because it's just
Yeah.
gonna put you in a worse place and you need to be in the best headspace possible if you
Mhm.
want this to work.
Yeah. That's
So,
such good
which,
advice.
easier
Yeah,
said than done, but
I know. Yeah. But it is such good advice because for those who are in it right now, maybe listening or listening later, like it can feel so all consuming. And it is so important to just remember to like take a break from it or like just go away for a weekend and don't talk about it. Or, yeah, like have the odd glass of wine. Like I mean, we're not medical doctors. We're not giving
yeah,
you
no.
advice, but I think it's so important to just be you and like, yeah, like because you lose yourself through the journey. It's so easy to do it because you just get so all consumed with it. And it's that there's so much desperation. Like, it's like the one thing we think should be the easiest thing or the most natural thing in the world. And it becomes like so methodical and so scientific and so like
Hmm.
hospitals and doctors and like nobody wants that for starting a family. And so yeah, I think that's such a great point. So it's funny how the journey takes us like through these different paths and different doors and what you learn about yourself, right, on
And
the
some of it you
journey.
don't learn until way later, right? Some of it you
Yeah.
learn in introspection. Some of the things I'm saying now, I maybe wouldn't have said 2, 3, 4 years ago, but it's easier to see it now as I've, lived through more and can
Yeah.
look back at it in a different lens.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it is a wild ride for sure. What were some of the hardest parts, do you think, that people maybe don't talk about or hear about?
Um, I think one of the biggest shocks for me was how time consuming it was. Like I just
Mhm.
had no idea how much time you would end up spending at a fertility clinic. Like I think I just thought of it like any other doctor's appointment. So that to me was just you're in there every other day. Like
Yeah.
you become like best friends with the nurses and the doctors, and like
Mhm.
you see them more than you see like your friends, honestly. Um
Mhm.
Sorry, I lost a little track of the question. What was the other part
That's
of the
okay.
question?
No, I was just saying, like, what was the hardest part? Like, I mean, yeah, you're talking about like the time consuming part of it. It's super difficult. But yeah,
Um,
what was the hardest part?
gosh,
People maybe don't talk.
I think another really hard part for me too. When Kevin and I met, one of the biggest things we kind of like bonded over in the beginning was our want to start a family. Like that was, I
Mhm.
think, maybe our first or second conversation after we met is how ready we both were to start kids. And when you then start to struggle, I think you then start to worry, right? So for me, a big worry was, okay, if we now can't have kids, is he going to still like me the same? Because this was kind of like our foundation and our basis of why we wanted to get into this relationship. That was
Yeah.
what we liked about each other as much as that we were both in that same place in life. And I saw him with his nieces and how good he was. And, it was such a
Mhm.
like turn on, like, oh my God, he's going to be a great dad. And I think
Yeah.
vice versa. So I think that was such a real fear of like, okay, what if it doesn't happen?
Mhm.
What are we without this like foundation that we kind of like started our relationship off of?
Totally. Oh man, that's such a real and like raw answer. It's so true. I think it would not be normal if you didn't have those thoughts in a relationship. Like, yeah, we definitely had similar thoughts and felt like I mean in our situation too, it was one-sided. We were male factor and it was kind of like you should find someone that can give you kids. I'm like, I chose you before I chose
Hmm.
babies, and so we'll figure this out together. Like we're in this together. I think there's so many times where we like reminded each other like this, it's us against infertility. Like we are on the
Yeah,
same team and we're gonna
we have
conquer
the same
this thing
goal.
together. Now we have the same thing with our kid. We're like, it's us against him. Like we have to be united because
100%.
it can be a little bit crazy to like we have to stay on the same team or else like yeah, he'll out negotiate us. Yeah, it's crazy. Um Awesome. I'm just skimming through my questions because we had so tell us a little bit about I know like you talked a bit about your I mean you're an influencer and like coming out with this information and this news before obviously being in the public light would have been much harder. So how did you feel like it was received when you did finally start talking about your journey publicly? Like it must have been a massive relief first of all, but how do you feel like it's been received by your community and by your followers?
Yeah. Oh, it was such a relief. I mean, so I knew when once we did get pregnant, I knew that I didn't want to just announce we're pregnant without the backstory of what it took to get pregnant.
Yeah.
While we were trying to conceive, I don't know what it is, but when you're trying to get pregnant, it feels like everyone around you is getting pregnant. Like people
Mhm.
that you didn't even know had boyfriends are all of a
Yeah.
sudden pregnant. It's
Mhm.
like, what's
Mhm.
happening? And
Yep.
I remember seeing one of those pregnancy announcements from someone, and it was like, how? I'm like, you just started dating a guy 4 weeks ago. Like, I don't understand how you're already pregnant. And I just felt so bad in that moment because I felt jealousy towards someone. And I like had, like I was a hater, kind of towards
Mhm.
her.
Fair.
Nothing about what she did because she was happy and she was announcing her pregnancy, but like it made me feel really crappy and I got jealous and I had not so nice thoughts. And then it made me look at myself and be like, okay, that says actually more about you than about anything else. But I remembered thinking, I don't want anybody to feel this way when I, announce I'm pregnant.
Totally.
And then once I said it all out loud, it was like, why did I not say this before? I could have had the most incredible community all along. And I think until you go through infertility, you don't realize how common it is. And then when you go through it, then you realize it affects way more people than anybody ever wants to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. But first of all, I want to validate like how normal it is to feel like that about the pregnancy announcement. Like it's the hardest thing, even to see a pregnant person, like the pregnancy, and like that is it's one of the hardest parts of the journey is like being left behind, you know, and seeing those things. So like totally normal feelings.
I know, but like
We
in
all
that
felt
moment, I'm
it.
like, man, I'm like, why I should be happy. Like I should still be happy, but I
No,
couldn't get myself to be happy for someone else.
you can't should.
And
You have
you
to
know,
just
and
like,
and that's when I really realized I'm like, okay, this is like
yeah,
really like starting to get to me is when I can't even like enjoy it for somebody else because I just want it so badly for myself.
yeah,
So I just did never want anybody to see I'm pregnant and feel bad for themselves. So I,
yeah,
shared our story. And it was just the most amazing feedback ever. And I feel like
yeah,
it's kind of like steered me into this fun little lane to where I'm now on the board at Fertility Friends Foundation. I get to do
yeah,
lives like this. I get to,
yeah,
talk about it and let other people feel a little bit less alone. And the amounts of women that come up to me, it's like I'll go to the yoga studio and like half of the people in there have at one point come up to me like, oh, I did this, I did that, I did that. And so it is so common. We just
yeah.
aren't really talking about it as much as we are
Hmm.
now. Thankfully, it's changing, and I feel like it's becoming a lot more acceptable to talk about, but there's still
Yeah.
a long way to go for sure.
There's so much stigma attached, and it's so difficult because we're literally taking the most intimate experience that we should have with our partner and like out of the bedroom and into the like everybody now knows like your own, your business.
Right.
So it's so hard. And that's, yeah, I mean, I think most people like talk about it after. We know, I mean, you probably follow some people that are like in it and like live taking you through it. And those are the bravest people that I've
Oh, I
ever,
know.
like, it's
I know.
unbelievable. And
See, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I think like, both Kevin and I are just like two anxious people naturally. Like
mhm,
I think it would have been, and that's why we didn't even tell our parents. We didn't tell our moms, like anybody, until we started
mhm,
doing IVF, because then we
yeah,
felt like, okay, now it's getting a little bit more intense. So we should let you guys know because
yeah,
it's becoming time consuming now.
yeah. Well, for you had to go through hell to get here, but I'm so glad you're part of the community and like you're able to support and influence and just be a light for those who are going through it, and like because you survived it and you had success and you're stronger for it. So talk to us a little bit about the advocacy work and where you're at now. And we love Fertility Friends Foundation at Oasis. We're huge fans, and we partner a lot on events and stuff. So I would love to hear a little bit about your work there. Tell us about the foundation, and the grant closes today, right?
Yeah, I think on the
Tomorrow.
30th, so tomorrow it closes. Yeah,
Okay.
so I sit on the board for Fertility Friends Foundation. So anybody who doesn't know them, it's a Canadian registered charity, and we provide grants across Canada for those trying to conceive. We do everything from IVF grants to surrogacy to sperm and egg donations. We basically give out 2 rounds of grants, one in the spring, one in the fall. Each grant is $5,000, which can go a long way. Like for me, that
Yeah.
was genetic testing, right? Like I
Yeah.
think that's a big factor that people also don't realize, obviously, when it comes to fertility treatments is the cost. So the foundation works at kind of bridging that problem a little bit. And I try to just spread the word because you need money to give grants.
Hmm.
So, I think my biggest thing is trying to help them with fundraising and just keeping
Yeah.
conversations going and lending my face whenever I can. And I just love the work that they do. We just had our night one charity and
It was so
our
good.
fundraiser, and it was so much fun. It was such a good
It was so
time.
fun. It was a
Did you have
great night.
fun?
I did have
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, it was great. And it was just like, I don't know, it like for being like a hard thing to go through, it's such a beautiful community of folks who get together and just, you know, celebrate that we even have access, right?
Yeah.
I think about this all the time. Like, what if they never invented IVF? Like, where would we even be in our world today? Like if they didn't try, if the science didn't get to the point that it is to today.
Hmm.
Blows my mind. Like we would, it would be just such a different world, because there's now, like, I don't know how many millions and millions and millions of babies that have been conceived this way, and more every single year. Like we talk to the fertility doctors all the time, and it's like the patient list just keeps getting longer. This
Yeah,
problem
for
isn't going
sure.
away; it's gonna get worse. And thank God for science, right? That we
Yeah. Oh
have
my God.
the option.
I know,
Yeah.
little test tube babies is what I call them.
Yeah, right? I know. Yeah, Petri babies.
Yeah.
Um, so with the work that you're doing at Fertility Friends Foundation, so the grants, from what I understand, people can get the 5,000 if they win the grant, and then if a clinic is partnering with Fertility Friends Foundation, then they can actually get a whole cycle of IVF covered.
Yeah, they can. And then we also work with a couple pharmaceutical companies on meds and whatnot. So we
Awesome.
really have like a whole support system. So if you are selected to get a grant, you're going to get support with that as well. It's not just here's $5,000, good luck. We kind of stay on that journey with you. And, if you don't feel like you can tell a friend or a family member, your mom, whatever, it's like you now have a support system with you on that journey.
Yeah.
So they really do amazing work, and I was actually introduced to them through my fertility doctor, Dr. Sharma, who helped me with both of
Oh,
my babies because she's on the board
oh,
as well. So when I came in for baby number two, she was like, "Okay, we'll work on getting you pregnant, but also, can you please meet these people? You'll love them all."
oh,
So
I love Dr.
it was a
Sharma.
great fit. And as
Great.
much as the conversation is happening and it's becoming normalized, at the end of the day, it costs money, right? So, yes, there is funding available, there are foundations, but it has to be more accessible because as much as I like being like a person who talks about infertility and is like a face of it, I feel like I'm such a small majority, right? It's like at the end of the day, I did IVF, I did one cycle, and both of my babies came from one retrieval. So that is a best case scenario, right? Is there are people
Totally.
who are doing retrieval after retrieval for years and years and years and years, and one funded cycle is not enough for that. That would have been great for somebody like me,
Yeah.
with the government funding. I would have done one cycle and it would have gotten it done, but that is not the reality of what stories really look like. I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? It's like you want to be a voice for it, but then you become a voice for it, and then you learn more about other stories, and you're like, wait, how am I a voice for this? Because my story now seems so much easier than other people's stories. And there's like this. So n- now I can't ever stop talking about it because now I want to help all those people who it's even harder for, not saying that
Totally.
mine wasn't a hard road, but I think there are so many different type of stories. It's not a one shoe fits all when it comes to infertility. And then you're talking
Yeah.
same sex couples and extra costs. Like it's a
Mhm.
big space with a lot of more conversations that need to be had.
Yeah. I'd love to know your thoughts on, like, well, a couple of things. First one, where do you think we're still falling short? Like, knowing what you know, I know I've learned so much in the last like 3 years since starting Oasis, and compared to what I knew on my fertility journey, and like hindsight's kind of a bitch, but there's so much that I know now that I wish I knew back then. Where do you think we're falling short right now with fertility treatment in Canada? Like, I mean, in the US, if people are watching from the US too, it's a little different down there. Things are different in the Canadian healthcare system, but I'm just curious, like, do you have any opinions, just opinions, thoughts on,
Um,
where are
I
there gaps?
mean, I think a cost that I would imagine could probably be brought down somewhat, but this is just like a general problem with healthcare is the meds. Like I
Mhm.
just don't understand why the meds are so expensive.
Yeah.
And if we can't bring down the costs of the meds, can the insurances help us a little bit? Can we make coverage a little bit more accessible? Can we add them to more of the standard plans, not just the best of the best extra plan? Because I think when it's set up that way, I think then you're just creating a bigger bridge when it comes to who is able to afford these treatments, right? And I think then you're catering it to a certain demographic. and you're not it's not a level playing field. And
Yeah.
I think that's what Fertility Friends Foundation actually stands for, is like anybody should be able to have a baby. So I don't think what you make and your salary should have an impact on that. And I think
Yeah.
the meds are just, the cost is out of this world. I think a month is like at least $4,000 or $5,000 out of pocket, and
Yeah.
that's like the baseline. That's like the
Yeah.
lowest of it.
Yeah, and it can range. Like I did 2 cycles, and one was like 3,500, and the other one was over 6,000.
Right, because it
Same
depends on
results,
how many hormones. Yeah.
protocols. And do you think my doctor cared what the price
No.
tag was on those drugs? No, they just were like, we have to figure this out, and so they just prescribe this and prescribe that, and you just
Yeah.
get out that credit card when you rock up to the appointment that day.
Exactly.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. It's so hard though, because we don't know, and we're not doctors, and as patients, you just trust and hope that like this is gonna work, and
Yeah.
that's what we have to do. So it's so
Yeah.
important that you love your doctor, and that you work with a clinic that you trust, and you ask the right questions, and yeah, that's great. It sounds like you had a really, really positive experience with your clinic, so that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, I love my doctor, so that, I think always really helps. But I mean, really, like, I think like education for this kind of stuff should happen much younger when you really think
Yeah.
about it. Like the fact that I never thought about how to get pregnant, like I never understood the concept of how to get pregnant. I only ever was taught, don't get pregnant. I
Mhm.
think we're just not taught enough about our bodies, right? If I would have known at 20 that this might be what I need to do, and later on in life, I would have maybe looked at different options, right? Like it would have been nice to know as a 20-year-old that I have below average egg count, right? Like
Mhm.
why is it not part of our screening, and why is it just not part of why are we not allowed to know all parts of our bodies? Why does there have to be a
Yeah.
price tag on it, you know?
Oh, and I mean, there's just so much that goes along with fertility, and with like especially young women, and periods, and understanding how our bodies work, and you don't start tracking until you try, right? In most cases.
For
And
sure.
yeah, and like just going back to like some of the unexplained infertility diagnosis that leads to an endometriosis diagnosis or a PCOS, or
Mhm.
one of the women's health diagnoses that we have not a lot of research on yet. Things are changing quickly, I think, in that space, but we still can't get to the bottom of an endometriosis diagnosis for like, I mean, years. It takes years and years and years for that diagnosis, which can hugely impact
Right.
fertility. But it's if you knew that, what to watch for, what to like look for when you're 13 and you start having a period, it's so much easier to be prepared for it,
100%, right.
when it does.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Education really starts from when you're much younger, right? Like the things I started learning in my late 20s that I'm like, I feel like somebody should have taught me this in high school at
Right?
some point. It's like, I feel like I went to a lot of classes to not know any of this.
Yeah, I think we should try and influence the curriculum, like those of us that have come through it and are, doing things to change the fertility community in a positive way, like go right back to the basics, the curriculum, so that there's a focus on women's health, not just,
Mhm.
don't get
Stop
pregnant.
being teen pregnancy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah, crazy. So I would love to hear if you have any advice for anybody who's on the journey. So somebody who's just starting, what would you tell them?
Um, I think I would tell them that not all roads are the same. I think it's really easy to compare. And, in some ways, now that the conversations are happening more, there's also like almost too much content, right? And it's like the
Yeah.
way social media now goes, it's like you look at one thing and then that becomes your entire algorithm, right? So
Mhm.
I think if you're like on that journey too, it's like to take a step back and to realize that literally every single road is different. There are not like two stories that are identical. Um, at the end of the day, it is you and your partner that are on that road together. And, um, you have to support each other. You have to try and look at it from their perspective because they're having a different experience than you. And you have to try and not totally lose yourself in all of it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. 100%. That's great advice. And what would you tell yourself if you could go back?
Oh my gosh, if I could go back. I would tell myself everything will happen when it's supposed to happen. Like, I look at my 2 boys now and I can't imagine them any other way, right? So it's like
Mhm.
they were meant to be my kids. It was meant to be Augie and it was meant to be Nash. Those are like 2 little embryos that made
Yeah,
it. So I just
yeah,
think everything happens for a reason, right?
yeah. It's so hard. I always say a similar thing in that if somebody could have showed me that human that I get to raise and like looked into those little blue eyes at any point in my journey, I would have fought for another 10 years and spent another $60,000 to get to him. But the unknown is so hard. And so you just have to fight for like hope and like the chance that this is going to work and that you are
Yeah.
going to get to the end one way, shape, or form. And that like you are going to be okay. Either way, like you're going to be okay.
100%, because
You're going to
I
get through
think it's kind of like the same as anything in life, right? Like, if you're not going to believe it, like, nobody else is going to believe it and things are not going to
it.
happen.
Mhm.
Like, so and like people think it's like crazy when you believe into all of the manifesting it, but like mind and like what you think really matters.
Yeah.
And you have to just know that you are going to be okay though, no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
you are going to be okay because look at everything you've done already, right? It's
Mhm.
like how easy all those other people that you like hate when you see their pregnancy announcement,
Mhm.
like that's so easy. Like, it's so easy to just get pregnant like that, like you were doing it the hard way.
Yeah, and there's so much, I don't know, gratitude I find even on the hardest days of parenting that I don't know about you, but like I look at my son and I think, gosh, this is freaking hard, but like I don't care. I would like do it again in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. Like,
Oh,
and
100%.
you don't have as many of those like ungrateful mom moments because you're just like, I get to do this. This was a chance that I get to have this kid,
Yeah.
and I thought I would never. Like we
Oh,
got, there's so
100%.
much, such a loss of hope on so many times throughout the journey where you just feel like this is never gonna happen. And then yeah, so it makes those, I don't know, it makes momming like not easier. It's hard no matter what way you do it, no matter how you get here. But there's just like a level of gratitude that exists that I think the people that don't experience infertility just don't understand,
100%. No,
Yeah.
like you fought hard to argue with someone to poop in the
To-
potty and
Totally,
not in the
totally,
corner.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Um, so at Oasis, like we're really big on community and support. We're big on like, we've got our in-person support groups. We want folks to find each other, find other people that are going through it on their journey. So they can, vent about it, like you had with your friend. But what sort of role do you think community plays in healing? Like you've built your community after. So I'd love to hear a little bit about, what do you think, how do you think the role of community plays in your healing journey and sort of moving past the grief and moving past the journey?
Well, I think community just helps you in realizing like you're really not alone in it, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think when I shared with my friend finally, even though she wasn't going through it, it wasn't her experience, she was still there for me. She still
Mhm.
listened to me nervously, talk about whatever it was on the way to each of my appointments. She knew what was happening when. So people can't be there for you and they can't really like be in it for you if you don't let them, right? So you can't expect support if you don't let people know what you need help with to support you
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, totally. And it can be so hard in the moments of like, you don't even know what you need, but just finding other people and being able to vent or being able to talk about how you feel, or like, yeah, my sister-in-law just got pregnant and it's frustrating, or all of
And
those.
like maybe it doesn't even need to be a best friend. Like I think what I've learned too, like now, like making different mom friends and whatnot, right? It's like not everyone is also your best friend. Like maybe your support system needs to be someone who's also going through it, that knows no other people that you know, that like
Mhm,
there's not, like your support system can be anyone. It could be a friend online, it could be anyone you want it to be. If you don't
yeah,
feel comfortable sharing with family and friends necessarily, it's like you can still find support other places to
totally.
make you feel less alone.
Yeah. One of the things I regret not doing, and I feel like I didn't really even know it was a thing when I was on my journey, but people make their Instagram accounts that's like incognito, it's not related to them in any way, but just so that they can follow other people, like fertility organizations and things like that. Because
For sure.
I stayed so far away from any of the pages, any of the influencers, because I was like,
Same.
I don't want anybody to
I didn't want to
see
give it away. I didn't want anyone to see I
my
liked
recommendation.
something or anything. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So I wish I was smart enough to know, like, just make another account so that you can.
Finsta. Isn't
Yeah.
that what they call them? Finsta?
Yeah. Yeah. And so many people do it. And I think it's so smart, and it's such a great way to just find other people to talk to and follow along, and see that you're not alone at the end of the day. Like, that's the most important thing, you know? Yeah. Super
For
important.
sure.
Yeah. Okay, one last thing, and then we'll talk about the tea party, and we'll talk about our journal,
Yes.
because we've got our journal campaign, our journal, free journals right now for anybody. So what's just tell us, like, what is the one thing that keeps you going when it's hard, even today, like postpartum, you got littles, it's hard. Like, is there one thing that you do or connect to, or that really gives you like the strength to get through?
Um, so I have two things that like get me through life. One being my kids, like they truly are like my driving force behind everything now. And like I tell them every day, I'm like, you have no idea how much mommy loved you. And like, it's like you really, really don't know, because I worked so hard even to like get you to be a little embryo, in the
Yeah.
freezer.
Mhm.
Um, but then the other one is like such a silly thing. And it was actually like a thing that kept me sane though during infertility as well. And it was Bravo. It's like I'm such a housewives gal. And that was like
I
my
love
like
it.
time to just unplug and unwind and be like, it doesn't matter. Let me just do that. So those are my two
Well,
things that
you have to
get me through my
unplug.
days.
Yes, you have to unplug. First of all, I was really hoping you were going to say it was Diet Coke. That
That
too.
was the hardest thing not to have when I was pregnant, to have to like limit it to one a day.
I love it. But yeah, I think, like, back to the guilty pleasure, like that is so key. Like, to just be able to like go
Turn
somewhere
your
else
brain off.
in your
Yeah.
mind, and just still enjoy and laugh and feel like there's something that feels lighter than the situation that you're in. I think it's genius. It's perfect. Like, it's so important. People forget, we get so immersed in like doom scrolling or just researching. It's like, just turn it all off, put on a smutty
Yeah,
novel, or
put on
watch
a
Housewives.
exactly. Get a good, yeah, I think that's like a big thing,
Yeah,
right? It's like if you're in the journey and you're like feeling like it's consuming you, it's like you can also just like decide to pick up a new hobby. You could join a book club, you could
yeah,
start doing like whatever it is to like
totally.
give you something new to focus on and distract you.
Yeah, I think that's so good and so important. So there's the advice. Thank you, Astrid. Amazing. I want to talk for a minute about, so Oasis. We have a really exciting event coming up. Astrid's going to be there, right? The tea
Yes, I'm gonna
party,
come.
the fertility party. It's being hosted on June 7th, 2026. If you're listening to this later, sorry you missed it. It's coming around next year again too, so don't worry. There'll be a lot of parties in our lifetime. But we get fancy. We put on our fancy hats, our fascinators, and we just celebrate the community and the fact that we're not going through this alone. We have an amazing silent auction. We have a photo booth. We have a live musician. She's an electric violinist, and so she just goes around like
Oh,
Bridgertoning us with her music. It's amazing, and the food is just unreal. It's so good. It's at the King Edward Hotel, and tickets are on sale. So you can go to oasisfsn.com for tickets. And it's going to be such a fabulous event. It's an afternoon event, right? Because we just want to be out on a Sunday afternoon with our girls or our guys and just get dressed up and come out and have a great time with us. We would love to celebrate with all of you. And it's a fundraiser. It's the only fundraiser that we do as an organization. And it literally gives us what we need to get through the year. We're fully volunteer run. So it gives us what we need to kind of get through the year. And then we hope for more funding throughout the year, but that's our big event. So we'd love to celebrate with all of you. Secondly, we just finished Fertility Awareness Week last week. That's why we didn't have a live, because there was so much going on. We're like, we're just going to push it a week. So here we are. But we currently, Oasis wrote a journal. It's called the I Can Do Hard Things journal. It's a resource. It's just got tons of tools and supports and journaling pages. It's got rage pages, so you can drink rage out in there. It's got gratitude pages, so you can be grateful. It's a beautiful, beautiful journal. It's 96 pages, and you can buy it. You can get it right now online for free using the code CFAW26, so CFAW26. If you go use that code at checkout, free journal, you just pay for shipping. In Canada, if you're in the US, we can sneak you guys in for a little while too. That promotion's on until the end of this month, so a couple more days if you're tuning in live tonight. So go get your journals and join a support group. That's what we're here for. We're here to help and we're here to support. And we look forward to seeing you in a few months at the tea. And best of luck in all that you do. We'll be following you online and, tuning into your conversations and whatnot. So thanks, Astrid, and thanks for your work with Fertility Friends.
Thanks for having me.
Remarkable, and we appreciate you.
Yes, I will be at the tea party. I'll be sure to bring my mom so she can spend a bunch of money at the silent auction. She was the hit at the last one.
Love it. Bring your mom, bring your grandma, bring your sister, bring everybody, your best friend, whatever. Bring your hubby. There's lots of guys there too. It's open to men, but it is more of a girly event though.
I actually had my baby shower there. It is a really, really cool place because I had a tea party for my baby shower, and it's a really, really neat place.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it is. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Have a great night, and we'll see you all in. We're back live next week. Jess from My Storia is joining us. She's hosting the next episode. She'll be here with, I think, Greek Nova. So tune in. Thanks, everybody.